Oh, fuck him. Of course you can pass as an uncle. You're a great performer. I'm a great director. Together we can do almost anything.
Oh, Armand, really?
Absolutely.
Oh.
We've got 5 hours. All right, first, get your pinky down. It's up again. All right, and your posture.
Oh, my God! Are you crazy? What are you doing?
Stop screaming. I'm teaching you to act like a man. All right. All right. Now, this is a dinner party. Let's work with food. All right? Spread some mustard on the toast. Don't use the spoon, and don't dribble little dots of mustard.
No?
No. You take your knife, and you smear. Men smear.
Smear.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the goddamn pinky down. All right, make your fingers like iron, all right? Yeah, and stop trembling. Hold the knife boldly and with strength.
Oh, God, I pierced the toast.
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we have gone to South Beach in the mid-90s, and we are watching the comedy classic The Birdcage, based off the play La Cage aux Folles by Jean Poiret and starring Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. This is one that I brought to us, and I'll be honest, it's because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is a movie that my wife and I continue to quote to each other. It's one that I saw first in high school. I was in theater. This seemed like a big movie with theater kids. I feel like for whatever reason, maybe because it was based on a play, not that I saw the play or anything, but it just...
But the world of it too, that they
the
are producers
world,
of a performance and all that stuff.
Being in 96, being a very, very queer-friendly, gay-friendly kind of concept, and the play being centered around that identity, I think also is a thing that maybe some elements of mainstream audiences kind of would be meh, but theater kids in particular were sort of in tune with. I think the first few kids I knew growing up who came out of the closet were theater people, just in general. And so, this really hit in that sense for me, but it's just so funny. And this was my first real kind of understanding of who Nathan Lane is. Obviously, he was the voice of Timon a few years earlier in The Lion King, but you don't see him if he's animating or voicing an animated character. He is a goddamn comedy genius, I think, Nathan Lane. So very, very happy with The Birdcage. Nick, was this one that you'd seen before?
Never seen it before.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it, I like Robin Williams a lot. Obviously, we all do. If you find someone who says, I don't like Robin Williams, fuck out of here, man. Right. Go live in Antarctica. Do some research.
Clear red
Go
flag.
find the thing. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. This just got by me, and not being in theater, I didn't have the same kind of circles and wasn't being shown the same stuff. Yeah. And then at a certain point in my life, and I think I've talked about this before, late 90s, early 2000s, I only watched action movies and stuff. I had the most garbage, the equivalent of a fast food diet of films for a big stretch of my life. So a lot of this stuff missed me for a long time. And I got back into these types of movies maybe the last 10 years. But I'd never seen this one before. So I heard a lot about it. I know a lot of people are big fans of it. So always down to see some Bobby Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby, I've never heard him called Bobby.
I know. I like that. Fake nicknames for him.
No, you should stick with that. That should be your thing. From now on, he's Bobby to you. I like that. All right, let's jump into the facts on The Birdcage. The movie The Birdcage was released on March 8th, 1996 with an R rating and a running time of 117 minutes. It was directed by Mike Nichols, and the screenplay was written by Elaine May and based, as I said, on the play by Jean Poiret. It stars Robin Williams, Gene Hackman, and Nathan Lane. Scores on Rotten Tomatoes, a really healthy 85%. On IMDb, slightly lower kind of in comparison, 7.3, not quite as popular on IMDb. We get a thumbs down from the schmuck Gene Siskel and a thumbs up from the homie Roger Ebert. Awards, quite a bit of award activity actually on this one. So we have an Oscar nomination in 97 for art direction. It didn't win, but really stunning sets and the way things are decorated.
Yeah, visually, and capturing that South Beach, Miami kind of feeling, the colors and the vibrancy of it was really nice.
Also, whoever did the costumes, there are more thongs in this movie than maybe any movie ever created. Very interesting. It won a couple of awards at the 1997 Blockbuster Awards, which we have to remind ourselves every once in a while were a thing that existed.
That's right.
Gene Hackman and Diane Wiest won the Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress awards at Blockbuster for this. In 97 at the Golden Globes, we got nominations for Best Comedy Picture and for Best Actor in a Comedy for Nathan Lane. No wins there, though. At the 1997 MTV Movie Awards, it was nominated for the Best On-Screen Duo for Robin Williams and Nathan Lane and Best Comedic Performance for Robin Williams, but also no wins there.
Yeah.
One other kind of, I don't know about major, but larger award win at the 97 SAG Awards, was the Screen Actors Guild, now called the Actor Awards. The entire cast won Outstanding Performance by a Cast, so sort of a joint award there. On a $31 million budget, they pulled in $185.3 million at the box office for just under 6 times what it cost to make. And again, for an R-rated movie that's not like a thriller or a action movie or whatever, that's actually pretty impressive, I think, for sort of an R-rated comedy to pull in that kind of money. Not super common,
sure. Not being like a Terminator 2 type thing. Yeah, definitely.
I think I looked up like the highest grossing R-rated movies of the 90s, and basically across the board, it was like action movies and Basic Instinct were basically it. So, and this movie
makes a lot of
hit
sense.
none of those tones really. So, all right. So let's jump into the actual film, The Birdcage. We start off with South Beach, Miami, Florida. Zooming in over the water, we get the whole kind of vibe of like, Ocean Boulevard there in South Beach. All the clubs, neon signs, people walking around dressed in very little clothing, a lot of bathing suits, a lot of thongs, as I said, men and women, plenty of thongs. We zoom in on The Birdcage, which is the name of a nightclub. And on the outside, it says, Armond Goldman presents Starina and the Goldman Girls. And this is not Golden Girls, but Golden Girls. I thought it was cute. This is a drag club. They're a drag show. So we head inside along with some customers, and we're just getting like a vibe, getting like the feel for the place.
And it's a cool shot, like where it kind of flies across the water, like to the front of the club and then right inside.
And then seamlessly kind of, we're now following people in rather than flying, right? Which is very neat. Good editing there. And then we see Robin Williams' character, Armond Goldman, and he is clearly the club's owner. I mean, his name's on the, marquee, but also like he's kind of checking on everything. He's talking to the host and he's talking to the bartender and he's kind of making sure everything's in place and all this stuff. And a waiter comes up to him and says, the Kennedys are here for, third time this week. You want to pick up their tab? And he goes, is it, what does he say? Is it Teddy? And he goes, no, it's the younger ones. Oh, I wish we could get Teddy, which is funny. To want Teddy Kennedy anywhere is odd. But then I thought to myself, the younger ones, was this like RFK Jr.?
Absolutely is there, dude. And I think he was served the free coffee that screwed up his voice forever.
That must be it. Yeah. And
I asked for green tea. Like, oh my God.
That or it was snorting all the cocaine off the toilet seats.
that was prime drug time for sure. Yeah. So that was definitely something I wrote down where I was like, oh, that was RFK Jr. era. Imagine what a nightmare that guy was in his like mid 30s or whatever.
Oh man.
So, but it is funny how Albert's just like, all right, well, it's not Ted. Then they get a free coffee.
I also think I want to point out here that like Armond is wearing throughout most of this movie, but certainly they're very obvious in this opening scene, what I think look like the most comfortable pair of pants that have ever existed. Like, I don't think I could pull them off because they're really flowy and whatever, but they look so comfortable, in the heat in Florida.
Yes,
flowy linen pants. I'm like,
he has some outfits in this movie where I am just like, dude, my buttons feel tighter just looking at him. Like, even though I'm not wearing anything tight, it just seems so comfortable to live in.
I may not be able to go out in it, but I would absolutely lounge around my house
for sure. For sure.
Oh man!
So they're telling him like they're kind of in this performance, this We Are Family performance, and coming up is Starina. Like Starina's on in 5, and Starina is the Nathan Lane, the character that Nathan Lane's character Albert plays on stage.
Yep.
And Albert is having a bit of a meltdown leading up to this.
Yeah, and so Armond runs upstairs to like see what's going on, and Albert like locks himself in his dressing room. I guess he's got like a room there because it's like their apartment basically is like above the club and their partners.
It took me a minute to figure out the geography of this until I realized that like they live right upstairs
and they've even got like a little rooftop pool and stuff. It's a real nice place. But Hank Azaria plays their maid or houseman or whatever, Agador, Guatemalan, thick accent. Hank Azaria looks great in this. He's obviously like, he looks ripped. Like, I don't ever remember him necessarily being a dude who's ripped, but he's like jacked in this movie.
He's always, what was the one where he was like the scuba instructor guy? I feel like there's a few movies where it's like, whoa, dude, what the hell? You can't be able to do every voice and be able to do like one arm push-ups on your pinkies too.
Are you for scuba? Like
Yeah.
that guy?
Yeah.
But basically, like, Armond is trying to like knock down the door because Albert's refusing to come out. He finally does actually bust down the door, and it's just a lot of chaos. I do love a line in here where Albert finally agrees because they're going to say, oh, well, we'll put on so-and-so, some other actor to be Starina. And Albert's like, no, like the people came to see Starina, you know, and he's like, kind of like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But he goes to Agador. Agador, I need some Pirin tablets, please. And Armand's like, well, what the fuck? What are you giving her drug? You giving him drugs? What the fuck is going on? And Agador's like, it's aspirin with the A and the S scraped off. Oh, that's brilliant. Like, let him think it's something else.
Good gag there for sure. Let's see. So he finally agrees, and like kind of under the threat of, okay, well, we'll let somebody else do it. And that's like, it's funny kind of throughout this film how the characters all know what the other person's limit actually is. Like, so they're able to call each other's bluffs pretty accurately. Like throughout this movie with his son and like, you know, all this other stuff.
That's a good point.
So Albert just finally agrees to go on, right? But then Armond he's got things to do, right? He's meeting somebody, and Albert is like suspicious because he said that, well, why did it, you know, is there another man? Because they're going through a breakup. It's kind of hinting at this.
Well, it's
right.
I think it's more just Albert's just really like, what's the term? Like not very confident, like lacking in self-confidence in their relationship. And he says, like, there's white wine in the fridge. I only drink red. You only drink red. And Armand's like trying to play it off. And he's like, you know, oh, I switched to white because red has tannins. And Albert's not buying it. Is that correct? Well, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure the wine stuff was factually correct.
Tannins come from contact with the skins of the grapes. And you don't generally get very much skin contact in white wine. You get a little tiny bit in rosé wine and then a lot in red wine to get the coloring. That's where all the pigment lives, and that's where the tannins come from. And tannins also, if you've ever had old tea, like you make a hot tea and then it gets cold and it kind of whatever, and then you taste it and it's extra bitter. That's tannin. That's literally the same thing. It's like plant material, like basically does that. So nice. Little education for everybody. But yeah, I love there's a moment where Albert is like on top of Armond, is like, no, he's like, hit me. You want to hit me, don't you? And he goes, and he checks his watch to see how much time he has left, and then he pushes him by the face off of him. But basically, like, Armond is meeting somebody, and so he goes back upstairs, tells Agador to take the night off. Agador's dancing to Gloria Stefan. And there's this point where he takes the radio or whatever and goes, "Come on, Gloria," and that's something my wife Heather and I still say to each other all the time. We find ways to fit "Come on, Gloria" into as much of our conversation as possible. Nice. But sure enough, he gives Agador the night off. So it's like, we're right with Albert here, led to believe Armond is stepping out. Like, right,
because he doesn't give any information or whatever.
But it turns out.
So somebody comes in, younger looking guy.
Handsome guy.
And I don't know if I just got this wrong the first time, but I feel like they're leaving it very up in the air. Like the way that they greet each other, I was still just like, okay, this is like the other guy, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of set up that way. And there's a lot of conversation before it's revealed that this is Val, this is their son.
Yes.
Right.
Well, this is specifically Armand's son.
It's Armand's biological son, but I think Albert has been in his life for like his whole life or most of his life, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
This guy sucks ass. I
Worst
don't like
part
the
of the
actor. I don't like the character. I was just like, I can't say. He has that kind of like John Mulaney face where his eyes seem to be drifting further apart from each other over time. And I like John Mulaney, but this guy was killing me the whole time.
It should come as no surprise that basically everybody else in this cast is, at this point, was already famous,
right?
Or became quite famous after the fact, because you have Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman. That's sort of your top billing, right? All, Nathan Lane, this was near the beginning. This was before he did The Producers. This is like near the beginning of his like stardom, but like huge star, right? Gene Hackman, Robin Williams, massive stars. Diane Wiest, massive
big star.
Hank Azaria, better known for voice work pre this, but like,
he's been
big,
steadily involved in
absolutely
stuff.
Doing stuff. Callista Flockhart, I think pretty unknown here, but then became Ally McBeal, and like, that's a huge thing. Christine Baranski is a fucking goddamn treasure, and she's in a big chunk of this. And then there's this guy. And he's just there. And Val is by far the shittiest character.
Yeah, he's the character that it's hard to like root for him in any way, because you're just like, I mean, what you're doing is sympathizing with a parent who has a pain in the ass kid who's
Yes.
just trying to do what they can to make him happy.
It's a weird trail of like who's to blame, because it's sort of like, all right, like, look, Val can't control who he fell in love with, and who he fell in love with seems like a very lovely person, Barbara.
Sure.
Right? We learn about this in a second, but like basically he's getting married. Val tells his dad, Armand, I'm getting married. It's a girl. I met her at school, like whatever. And Armand's like, you're going to throw your life away, like all this kind of stuff. And he's like, not cool. That they even do this little thing where he's like, if you do this, you leave here, you never come back, like you're cut off forever.
Yeah.
And Val calls the bluff and is like, okay, Dad, sorry. Nice to see you. Nice to know you. Take care. And of course, Armand pulls him in like, you pisser, you just called my bluff. Like you were saying.
We got 2 big bluff callings in like the first 10 minutes here.
But really the sort of trail of who's to blame here is like, well, so Barbara, as it turns out, her parents are ultra conservative. Her father is Kevin Keeley, senator from Ohio, and the co-founder of a group called the Coalition for Moral Order, which has got many sort of like corollary type groups that actually existed at the time, but are like this kind of mid-90s resurgence of like the Contract with America, Newt Gingrich, like all this blah, 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 the sort of reaction to the Clinton presidency.
Yeah.
So she has shitty parents who have made it clear to her that like with, if it was obvious who Val's family really was, they would have a problem with it. They would say no or cut her off, or there would be some massive consequence.
They have no like give in their position.
And then Val fell in love with who he fell in love with. So you're really going to blame Val for falling in love with who he fell in love with? No, but then he asks his dad to just completely lie about who he is, send Albert, who we've kind of established or gets established, like has basically been the maternal figure in his life.
Yep.
Send him away, like all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, you're shitty. So it's like, I guess we can easily sympathize with Armand. He's in the most kind of like, Armand and Albert are in the most like,
he's been the most put in a position out of all
kind
this.
Of thing.
Yep.
And then it's like, but then Val, you're kind of like, dude, like, could you have a couple of balls in you there to like stand up to like, I mean,
it is crazy.
I mean,
being 20 is such a big difference than being, even 25, 30. But yeah, it is like, I mean, you have to figure this out. You have to like, if you let this be the beginning of the relationship, then you've made that compromise forever.
It's crazy.
Like so not a fan of Val here.
No.
And not a likable enough character to be like, oh, well, I want this guy's love to work out. So
no, agreed.
But they, so as they're having this kind of conversation, he wants Armand to get on the phone. Val calls Barbara and they're talking. He's like, okay, well, I told my dad and everything, and they're getting all excited. And Barbara and Armand like gets on the phone with her, but she's been kind of telling fibs to her parents because she knows what Armand and Albert, like she doesn't care.
No, she's aware and
she's
okay.
like fine with all of it, but she's kind of protecting her parents. And then her dad, Gene Hackman, is in the midst of a big election, and B, kind of a big scandal, which we find out about in a minute.
Scandal hasn't broken yet, but he is, this coalition moral order thing seems fairly new. Like it's something that has just kind of hit the scene. So he's been on like talk shows and stuff. He's clearly also written a book, because there's several scenes where he's like going through the typist's manuscript. It's almost like he hand wrote, like a novel or something. And now there's this huge manuscript he has to like go through and like check. So he's got a lot going on, re-election campaign, like whatever, right? And so he gets on the phone and like overhears the conversation between Armand and Barbara. And all he really places is that Barbara said that he's the cultural attaché to Greece.
Yeah.
And she saw Val that day. Now Val's with his dad. So she now has to pivot super fast. We're like, they came home. They came home for vacation. They're in South Beach or whatever. Yeah. It's like, so this is lie on lie on lie. But yeah.
And it is funny, like throughout this, how credulous Gene Hackman's character is. Like for being someone who's like laying down the law, and this is how things should be. And he believes like everything that's presented to him, One thing I will say, Coalition for moral order, they could have done like Coalition of Moral Excellence or something that's like a pun, like that works out to say cum or something like that. I think it's just a missed opportunity for a joke.
Fair. That's fair. Does Como not work? Oh no, it wouldn't do it. Como, you can't actually pronounce it.
CFMO,
you're right. They just total missed opportunity.
And so we've got a little Azaria back at the house, because he's talking like they're kind of the next morning, right? So Val had like gone to sleep. Albert came up after the show. After Val had already gone to bed, he found out Val's visiting.
Exactly.
And got his laundry very sweetly, like went and gathered his laundry and went and did it for him.
Very mom move.
Yeah, really, really mom stuff. There's some good Hank Azaria talking about his Guatemalan-ness in this part here.
My father was the shaman of his tribe. My mother was the high priestess. And then Armand's like, why'd they move to New Jersey? And he's like, I don't know. They're so stupid. Like, But he wants to audition. Basically, like Agador wants to be one of the Golden Girls, wants to be on stage for the drag show. But he asks, like, well, when are you going to let me audition for you again? And he goes, when you have talent. So clearly, this is a fun little thing between them. But like Armond has no intention of letting Agador be in the show. But it's a fun little kind of back and forth. I love too, Agador makes Turkish coffee, which Armond is like, ooh, what is this, sludge? And he's like, yeah, I thought it'd be a nice change from coffee. But when Albert comes home with the groceries, he takes a sip and is like, ooh, Turkish coffee, delicious.
Turkish coffee is good, but if you're not expecting Turkish coffee,
thick,
it is jarring. Yeah, because there's like lots of like spices and things that aren't coffee in it too. So we find out that the co-founder of this Coalition for Moral Order has been found dead.
Yes.
But he was also like a very conservative politician, but was found dead and in bed with an underage African-American prostitute, right? So it's like, okay, you're a child molester and you clearly like some people that aren't white, you know, which is
stepped out of your marriage and
all this stuff, right? So this is a big scandal for Gene Hackman's character, and there's like press like swarming him, right? So this is a big deal, and it's fucking up all his plans.
And so they decide, hey, Diane Weist's character and Cliff Flockar's character, so this is I can't remember the name, but the mom, Mrs. Keeley, and then Barbara, they kind of both come at the same time to Gene Hackman. They're like, hey, you know what could like make this be better is a wedding, right? We already told you, like, Barbie wants to marry this guy or whatever. Like, let's go meet the family, and then you can announce a wedding, and that's, you know, hope and future and family and like innocence and all this stuff. And he kind of gets talked into it, but you know, not super crazy. There's also a scene in here real quick somewhere in here where Albert is reminiscing, flipping through a photo album of like Val as a young boy. And I think it's really weird because all the photos are in black and white. They all look like they were taken in like the 50s. But Val is 20 years old in 1996. So he's like 3 years older than us. Like, and these are photos of him as like a 10 to 11 year old. So like the late 80s, maybe. You know what I mean? It's like, why would it look that way? It looks so strange.
No, that is funny. It's probably a props department thing where we're like, we need to hammer home that these are old photos. So they got to be black and white.
And maybe it was easier to like splice the actors at different ages together to make them look like they were standing there if it was black and white, you know, a sort of Clerks thing where it's like, hey, the colors will all just match. Nobody will look wrong. I don't have to worry about the lighting as much if we do it in black and white. But basically there is, and then there's a rehearsal. So at the Birdcage, and Albert is rehearsing with this dancer who does not dress in drag, is a male dancer who stays dressed as a man named Celsius, and they're like doing this new piece, and like Albert's trying to sing, and the guy is just being rude. He's like grabbing his crotch and chewing gum, and Albert is losing it.
Terrible work, like just you're kind of like surly, like well, I don't want to be here, guy.
Yeah, and he tries to be all like, you know, well, what am I, just an object? And Armand's like, no, like you do an eclectic bouquet of dance. You do fussy, 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 and Martha Graham. And he's like doing all these dances. But you do it all inside.
He was this was the line that Albert had about this guy was like, he was upset that the guy was chewing gum, and he's like, well, it helps me think. He's like, you know, there's not enough gum in the world for that, or whatever he says.
Your gum.
Yeah, you're wasting your gum. So Val kind of proposes to Armond like what he wants the deal to be. He's like, look, Barbara's parents are going to come meet us. This is who they are.
Like,
and Armond doesn't know who it is.
He's not aware.
It's funny. He's like, do you ever read the newspaper? He's like, yeah, Variety, National Enquirer, the Arts and Leisure section of the New York Times. So he ends up, you know, telling him who he is, and he's like, look, basically like, Dad, tone it down. Right.
Like, and big time.
Including the house, including, you know, he's like, it would help if you weren't like,
they have a lot of like fertility statues around.
Yeah, there's
and like
all this artwork,
a nude statue of Neptune, and like all this kind of stuff. And of course, Armond himself is wearing foundation, you know, like makeup. And so really shitty of Val, he like puts his finger up to his dad's like jaw and gets some foundation on his hand and wipes it on the wall, which I'm like, dude, do you know how expensive it is to like sponge paint wall? Like you can't like wash that. It'll screw it up.
Because it's gonna mess up the whole pattern.
Texture and like, you know, it's so. But anyway, one more way Val's being a shithead,
disrespectful, and just like lighting up cigarettes in the middle of the house. But I guess that's fine there too.
Because Armond smokes, I think maybe that happens more often. But it's funny too. Actually, every time Val tries to light a cigarette, Armond takes it from him. Like he doesn't want Val to smoke, but he himself is smoking through most of the movie.
Yeah.
But that's a very like parent kind of thing.
Some of the stuff that they have to move is funny, right? He picks up this, this statue that's like a little idol type thing with a penis, and then Armand goes to turn it around backwards, and there's like this huge ass crack.
Big butt crack.
He's like, I don't know if that's any better.
Is that better? But they he basically says initially to Val, like, I'm not doing it, man. Like, I am who I am. It's taken me 20 years to understand who I am, and I'm not gonna, fuck the senator. I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah.
Is
it weird he quoted himself from Popeye by saying, I am who I am?
I am what I am. So, but he basically decides, no, I'm not doing it. We get a little scene back at the Keeley house where Gene Hackman tries to climb out the window to avoid the press, which is shitty as hell, because the wife, Diane Weiss, is like, what are you going to do? Oh, I don't want to be out there alone. He's like, you won't be alone. Barbara will be with you. You coward ass fuck.
Yeah.
But he goes to climb out, and the press must have been waiting for him or something. I don't know if they might have seen the ladder.
Right.
There's a huge ladder.
Seriously, hard to
like, it's not like a rope
hard to
ladder.
hide the purpose of that.
Yeah, it's not like somebody he like threw out the window and like starts climbing. No, it's just there. So they're talking to him, and so he stops
he does
short.
like a press conference on the ladder.
From the ladder.
Yeah,
he kind of stops short of fully like saying, "Oh, there's going to be a wedding" or whatever. But basically, he actually tries to misdirect the crowd, the press, and says, "We're going to our farm." He doesn't say where, but I'm assuming somewhere there in Ohio where he's a senator from. But there's another one of the journos there is from the National Enquirer, this kind of fat guy, and he had already paid off the driver to ask where he's taking him, and he's told him South Beach, Florida. And so he calls out and is the one who calls out and says, "Where are you headed, Senator?" It's, "Oh, we're headed to our family farm." That's all I'm going to say right now. He's like, so now the journo knows, cool, nobody else knows where they're going. He's trying to hide where he's going, which means something interesting is going to happen. So they do start driving down, and we can see as they're driving down the highway that there's like a car following them kind of the whole way. So these guys are following them.
So Armand is kind of like thought about it, right? And Val sees that, the next morning Armand is doing work to try to like de-gay the house.
Yeah, get rid of the artwork and different stuff.
To try to make it look like a conservative person's house, right? And I like this. This is a very kind of real moment where, Val's like, "Oh, like, thank you so much, Dad, for doing this." And Armand's just like, "Don't talk to me for a while." Because that
Honest
is super
as shit.
relatable. And I want to say to everyone, just because you don't have a smile on your face the whole time you're doing something doesn't mean that you're not happy to do it for someone. It's okay to have a reaction.
100%.
If someone has you carry a heavy thing, you can be like, "God, this is fucking heavy." And it doesn't mean that they need to take it back. You're
100%.
allowed to react to it. So I do like that they left space for Armand to be like, he wasn't like, "You're my son, I'd do anything for you." He was just kind of like, "Fuck you, buddy." Like, I'll do this, but we need a little time to cool off.
It's sort of a thing. It kind of gives the indication, like, because I'm doing it, you and I know we're fine long term.
Yes.
But right now, I am furious and I don't want to deal with this and you right now. And I think that's fair. I think that's something, you can't necessarily do with like when your kids are children.
No.
But once your kids are adults, like, hell yeah, that's a totally viable sort of like response, because you're making it clear to them, look, I have boundaries and things that I have chosen in this one case to move for you. Right. Like, normally I don't let anybody tell me who I am and who I'm not. And I'm not doing that for you, like, for my life, but I will do that for you tonight because I love you. But you've got to know that is costing me something. Yeah. And I think that was really great. And like I said, it's like in 2 lines, just 2 lines, but we get all of that, mainly because Robin Williams is a fantastic actor and really delivers that line, with so much behind it. But the fact remains, they are doing the cleanup. They're going to change the house over. They're going to do it. And they got to talk about, and Armand
and they
says,
keep Val. This is kind of funny how, Val is helping and also watching what they're doing, and new things will appear. And he's like, "What's that?" They're like, "Oh, we got this down at the thrift." She's like, "Don't add stuff, just get rid of stuff." They keep trying to help in funny ways.
Somebody put Playboys in the bathroom. He goes, "Who put Playboy there?" It's what they read. Don't add, just subtract. But Armand now has the problem of having to, quote, get rid of Albert, have Albert go away for, a night or whatever and go somewhere else and not be there, because they were thinking earlier, oh, maybe Albert could be explained away as an uncle. And Armand's like, hey, without a mother here to be your mother, without a woman here, he's just going to be your gay Uncle Albert. That's still a problem, right? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that would still be a problem. So they're, Armand and Albert go, they hang out on the beach for a while. and all this stuff. But Armand kind of opens with like, maybe you should go to like Boca or something. He says somewhere else, you're looking like tired or whatever. And this sets Albert off, and he's like, tired means old. Like, I want to go home. And so now he's like, Armand's trying to keep him from going back home. He like fakes an ankle injury, like all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And then they get home finally, and Albert screams one of the funniest screams ever. And I'm not going to try to do it, but Nathan Lane does a great scream, and he screams, "We've been robbed," because it looks like the whole thing is everything's gone.
Yeah.
And that's when Val says, "Oh, it'll all be back by the time you get back." And he goes, "Where am I going?" So Armand hadn't even had a chance to tell Albert any of this. Like, none of this has been explained. And Albert is rightfully super fucking pissed off.
Well, and if I could give some advice to Val and Armand in this case, you don't have to say, "I'm sorry, Albert, you're too like noticeably gay. Like, you arrest everything." You should be like, "Albert, you've been proven to overreact and be incredibly chaotic and unpredictable in every situation, and I don't want that this weekend."
It probably would be a better sell. Like, yeah.
He'd been acting insane this whole fucking movie so far. So it's like, you can point to that. Like,
it's a good point. It's
get
not
her straight. You're acting wild as fuck.
Right. Your actual identity is not the issue. Your reactions are the issue. That would be an easier sell for sure.
So the plan is, and Armand doesn't tell Val this. Armand's like, okay, well, I'll work on him. We'll get him out of town. But then he's trying to work with Albert to like, all right, like, we can get you in. We can have you be an uncle and whatever, and giving him lessons on, how to do things in a manly way. So we get some funny bits there.
Yes.
The mustard smear, I think, is funny. Like, real men smear.
Yeah. A lot of get your pinky down.
Yeah,
a lot of between the spoon and the glass, a lot of pinky. They do the walk. He's like, let me show you how to walk.
Yeah.
Right. So Albert gets up and walks, and it's very kind of swishy, and his hands are. And so Armand's like, let me give you an image. It's a cliche, but it's an image. John Wayne. You're a big fan. Try that, So he gets his little straw hat, even whatever, and he starts walking. And it's kind of a saunter, I guess you'd call it, right? And he walks by this like old woman in a very Florida looking outfit, the bejeweled like hat and even ma'am, kind of the whole thing. Comes back and he goes, "No good." And Armand's like, "No, that was perfect. I just never realized John Wayne walked like that."
Yeah, that was a good payoff, because I've seen it like. It's a very 80s, 90s, like a John Wayne impression. Right. And a very Robin Williams, like from his stand-up thing. Like, that's a jam that he does. And if it was just that, it would be kind of like, whatever. But the fact that they ended it with kind of pointing out that, like, oh, John Wayne walks hella gay, And by the way, I'm saying this like in the context of the movie, like, for lack of, like, you all know what I mean by this. So yeah, that was a good way to end that bit for sure.
We also, my wife and I, another thing that we routinely say and just got into our vernacular is, "Oh, I've pierced the toast."
Oh,
like
the pierce the toast was good.
Piercing the toast.
The other funny thing where they're practicing kind of having like guy level small
guy
talk,
chat.
right?
Yeah.
And Robin Williams, he's like, "Oh, so how about those Dolphins, whatever?" And Robin Williams is giving all this technical stuff, and he's like, "How does that make you feel?" And he's like, "Oh, betrayed, bewildered." Like, that was good. That was a good line by him.
Betrayed, bewildered.
So the conclusion, I guess, or what they're talking about, is that they need like a woman to be present to make this whole thing work. Someone to be playing Val's mother.
Exactly.
And then Albert's less of a concern because there's like a mother-father family there.
Right. You've got the mom and dad, and then in the context, there's this uncle, and he's just in town visiting. Like, that's a much easier sort of story to tell than like, why are there just two guys and there's no mom? Like, that kind of thing, right? It would be easier for them. So they decide to enlist the help of Val's birth mother, Catherine Archer, who has this like big kind of fitness company or something. We're not sure exactly. I can't tell exactly what it is, but yeah, it's some kind of like either athletic wear or gyms or something. Played by Christine Baranski, who's one of my favorite people in Hollywood. Like, anything Christine Baranski's in, she's fantastic. So they go together. Armand and Albert go together to visit Catherine, although Armand's going to go in and Albert's just going to wait in the waiting room. So the backstory we get is that, 21 years ago or whatever it's been since Val's 20, they were in a production together, Catherine and Armand, and they had an affair, they hooked up basically. And Armand even says, like, I figured, give it a shot. What are all these straight guys raving about when it comes to like sleeping with a woman? Like, I'll try.
Yeah.
And so they did. Apparently that was enough to conceive Val. And basically Armand gave Catherine a bunch of money to give up custody of Val and have Armand take full custody of him. And that's how she started her business. So it's like it's a very amicable sort of thing. Catherine seems ecstatic to see him. She never thought she would again, maybe, but
like a good moment between the two of them. And it's nice that they let it go so long, of them kind of like reminiscing about the stuff that they were in together and doing a couple of old bits and all that stuff.
Doing a number here and a little dance there.
Yeah. So they gave her probably more screen. A lot of times like that character isn't going to get like that little chunk, right? So that was cool to see that, you know. And then as a theater person, it probably it I don't know, it gives you feelings about just the connections that you have with people that you cast. Performed with.
Absolutely.
Kind of, even years and years later, you kind of remember stuff that you did and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely a connection that you keep. But unfortunately, Albert gets more and more tired of waiting because you know, Armand was supposed to go in 15 minutes, chat with it, and we get the sense that much more time than that has passed. Catherine opened a bottle of champagne. And when she starts kind of really flirting with him hard, like talking about his chest hair and kind of doing this stuff, and they're almost canoodling. I mean, not Armand so much as Catherine is being very forward as Albert walks in and is freaked out. Albert goes to the car that they drove, at Armand's car, to get there, and is clearly struggling to drive it, but gets it driven away. But we cut back to the house and Armand has arrived. Albert's not there yet.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Is Albert back yet?" "No, I thought he was with you." Great. He's driving back from, you know, wherever, Palm Beach or whatever, Fort Lauderdale, something like that, you know, with the parking brake on.
Yeah.
We get the sense Albert doesn't do much driving.
Yeah, it's definitely Armand is taking care of a lot of the business.
Exactly.
You know? So Albert walks in the door and, you know, has another meltdown because you know, I walked in on Armand and stuff, and I know what you're trying to do to me, and I'll be leaving, but clearly like wants them to ask him questions about it. And again, like they're all acting like vets who have been through his bullshit like multiple times every week for years and years and years, right? So they're finally like, "Oh, okay, well, hey Albert, where are you going?"
I'll bite, like
right. And then he basically says like, I'm going to this town,
Las Copa.
The only thing there is a cemetery, and he's like, "Oh, that's why I'm packing light," and like storms off.
He says, "You're taking a toothbrush to a cemetery? How Egyptian."
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I mean that he storms off, but then Armand knows kind of where to find him and where to go get him.
He's basically at a bus stop waiting to head out of town. And so Armand finds him and brings what they've talked about a few times, the palimony agreement. And I had to like look this up even recently because I've kind of forgot the exact details, but I guess it's, you know, when you have like some kind of a domestic partnership where there's no marriage involved, and obviously back then and in Florida in particular, there would have been no chance for these two to get married in any meaningful way. The palimony agreement is essentially just a business agreement that says I own half of what you own, you own half of what I own, and it's even split, right? So basically, the closest thing financially that they could do to marriage, basically at the time, and you know, he brings it and they sign it, and you know, Albert's like, "I don't want all this stuff." He's like, "Well, then give it to me. Like the point is, I want us together." Like, it's Armand basically saying, I hadn't done this before, not because I didn't want to do it. I just didn't think it was that important to you. Now I clearly understand that it is like something you need to feel good about this. So let's do it. Like it's, you know, they're tied together, and it's really a sweet kind of moment. And it's really funny because it starts off with Armand complaining about how shitty the cemetery in Las Copa is, and his cemetery plots in Key Biscayne, but now he has to, you know, it's gorgeous, a beautiful view of the ocean, and now he's got to sell it to get a plot next to you in that piece of shit Las Copa. He's so angry about it.
That's a nice scene with them on the the bus bench. It's kind of like the Norman Rockwell, like where there's the kid with the "I ran away from home" bindle and the cop sitting next to him. It's kind of like Armand with Albert, like, "Hey, I know you tried to run away from home, but let's get you back here.
Let's get you a cup of soup and get you back home."
So Armand is kind of like realizing like, this is the person that I love. Like, this is what's important to me. If Val's fiance and her family don't accept us, then that's 100% on them. Like, I'm going to call mom and tell her not to come.
Right. So
Armand,
like,
we're going to do it.
Yeah. Armand leaves a message with Catherine's assistant or whatever saying like, "Don't come, don't bother." And she even says, "Well, she's already on her way, but I'll try to reach her on her car phone." Right. Is what she says. So back at the house, they're all dressing in like conservative wear, right? So Armand's got his like black suit and tie on. He's got his hair slicked back, honestly looking like my grandpa, but he says he looks like his grandpa in that suit. Look like my grandfather in this suit. He killed himself when he was 40 or something like that. Like, what does he say?
Do not like Robin Williams making suicide references in movies. It stings a lot. And I think he does it twice in this movie. And I'm just like, oh no.
But then Albert comes out in his suit and initially looks good. I mean, he's, he kind of has to struggle to deliberately walk in a different way than he would normally walk, trying to like play it straight or whatever. But he sits down and, whatever, and kind of sits, and he crosses his leg initially more feminine and then changes to cross his leg more masculine, all this stuff.
Right.
And they're kind of like, okay. And he goes, oh, you figure I dress like this, I'm even more obvious, right? Like I took off my rings, I'm dressed just like you. And Armond goes, what about those? And he's wearing these bright pink socks. And he just goes, well, one does want a hint of color.
Yeah.
Which is that's another one that Heather and I always say.
And it is so funny though, the way that Albert is dressed, it's like, all right, this is either like flamboyant gay man just wearing a suit, or the most vicious killer in Boardwalk Empire. Like
Right.
like those flamboyant criminal guys dress the exact same way that they would like make fun of someone for just like, oh, it's the same thing. Everyone just wants to look good and they want to have people looking at them.
Exactly.
So they're kind of realizing that like, oh man, this
it's good. It's not going to work.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Our training, no matter how much training, and they only had like 6 hours in the first place. So,
ridiculous.
yeah, you're not gonna do that.
And they did make a comment at one point earlier talking about training. It's like, Albert said, I'm an actor. You're a great director. Like we can do this. Like this is something we can do. And they tried and they did their best. But Val, this is another place where he's just such a bitch. He's just mean to everybody. He's like mean to Agador about like, he goes out and like Agador's lighting some candles because the whole place looks like a fucking monastery now.
Yes.
Like it just looks ridiculous.
It is funny how they like fully strip it down. There's almost nothing, just a big like wooden crucifix on the wall in
they
one
bring in
room.
a crucifix. They have a little table. They have a couple of like books, a lot of like drapes on the walls to like block the view to the outside and stuff. All this stuff. And so Agador is like lighting candles, and he's tried to masculinate his voice as well because he's got this very thick accent. And so Val's like, would you just put your shoes on? He goes, but sir, there is no reason for me to put my shoes on because they make me fall down. And he's like, just put your fucking shoes. Like he's so upset about it. But that's when Catherine calls to verify Armand's message. She goes, hey, I got a message from my assistant about not coming. Is that right? And Val's the one who answers. And so now that Albert has run back into his room and is like not coming out, supposedly like locked himself in. He's like, no, please come. Like that was a mistake. Like, please, and they have a moment over the phone because, they've never spoken to each other before. And she says, this is Val. And he's like, yeah, she's just like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I'm really, really happy I can do this for you. Yeah. Which is great. Like she really is just, knows that she obviously hasn't been part of his life, obviously. So this is cool that she can do something for him. She feels like,
right? Weird dynamic for that kind of relationship, but I think they keep the proper distance. It's not like, oh, you live with me half the time now. It's very much like they're fine with the decision that was made 20 years ago. So they end up the parents are on the way, right? So the idea is that even if Christine Baranski gets there when she's supposed to get there, she's going to be there after
a little late,
the parents of Barbara's parents, right? And they show up, and we get a funny scene of the shoes make him fall down.
He do make him fall. He wasn't kidding.
Agador does fall down when he puts shoes on. Good physical comedy.
It's a good
by him.
pratfall, by Azaria,
And so we're introduced now to Barbara and her parents.
Yep. So the Keeleys have arrived, and there's a lot of like, and then there's initial confusion because first of all, Agador answers the phone. I am Spartacus. He's decided to change his name, hasn't told anybody. And like welcome to the Goldmans or something like that. Or I'm the Goldmans butler or something like that. And so then Barbara had told her parents that the last name was Coleman because she also didn't want them to think, among all the other things she doesn't want her parents to understand, is that Armand is Jewish. And that's also, no kind of thing. And so then it's like, is it Goldman, Coleman? Like there's some misunderstanding, right? Now the crazy part is when they drove up to the building with the nightclub in front, it says Armond Goldman presents on the front.
Right.
They're meeting an Armand Coleman. Even that should have been a bit of a tip off, but there's no recognition at all.
It is fun. When they first kind of arrive in town, so they're kind of pulling into the same scene that we saw from the opening shot, right?
Yeah.
Like people in thongs and like men and women in thongs, like scantily dressed, all kinds of stuff. And they're looking out the window, and I think they're like, oh yeah, they said this all popped up since they bought the place.
It was all sand when they bought here.
They would never move in there, right? And then there's kind of a comment with the Coleman Goldman thing. They say something about, he said, oh, this neighborhood used to be all Jewish. And it was like, oh, Barbara said it used to be all sand. He's like, oh, you know what they say, when there's sand, where there's sand.
Where there's sand. Like, but they respond to, or, Val and Armand calls Agador. They call him Agador. And then Val corrects him to Spartacus, and they say Agador Spartacus. He insists on being called his full name, which I always thought was hilarious. But basically, outside the building now, more journalists have, or no, the initial journalists have arrived. So the two guys that follow them are there, and they see the driver and pay him another bunch of money, whatever, to say where did they go. They went in the building around the corner. So now they're kind of scoping it out. They're obviously not just going to like try to walk in or anything, but they're like looking around. The name has actually been changed on the doorbell outside to say Coleman. Something Val must have done at some point. And so they are asking, Coleman, the last name Coleman. No, nothing? That's so crazy. And then one guy's like, what about the name on the front of the building? Armond Goldman, like he figures it out. Yeah. And sort of they check, it turns out, like he owns the building, he owns the nightclub, like that's him kind of thing, which is super funny. Inside the building, we find out Catherine's stuck in traffic. She's at like some kind of drawbridge or something. Yeah. There's a lot of, I can't remember what they're called. They're like, there's some term for all these, like they're like bridges, but they're also the causeways, I think they call them, throughout Miami that make it very difficult to get from one part of Miami to another, depending on what time of day it is and stuff. Yeah. And so she's stuck, so they're going to wait a little longer. And Kevin Keeley, so Gene Hackman's character starts telling the story about the foliage, the changing foliage as they drove from Ohio through Virginia. And it is the most boring fucking story about the leaves changing.
And it's the most like politician, no information kind of story too. Like just, no opinions, no informations. And
talk about Purple Mountain's majesty. Like, just the most boring shit ever.
So, and they keep kind of like, the phone rings at a point in his story and they don't pick it up, but then it goes to the answering machine and Val goes and grabs it.
It's Catherine.
Right. Because it's her, and they're like disappearing to the kitchen and coming back. And Kevin Keeley, Gene Hackman, is kind of like, something's going on here. Like this
weird.
It's like the only time he's skeptical of anything, right? Throughout this. And they're just like, okay, mom's going to be late. She's going to be another half an hour, whatever. Right. And then in bursts mom, right?
And it's Albert. Doing the Mrs. Doubtfire type
very
thing.
Much, yeah, very much so. So, and when he first pops in, Agador starts laughing hysterically and has to can't even stop himself laughing, has to cover his mouth and just be escorted out of the room.
I want to say this movie to me is a good movie from the beginning until the Keeleys arrive at the house. But from when the Keeleys arrive to the end, it is a spectacular movie. Like, I honestly, the jokes come super fast. The missed identity stuff is hilarious. To me, there's so many laughs in this movie, kind of in this dinner scene and on. And this is where it really ramps up. And so Albert appearing as Mrs. Coleman Goldman, which again, there's now an additional problem because she says Goldman or something, and there's a problem. But we've had some confusion. Is it Coleman? And she goes, well, it depends on where you are.
That's really
good. In France, where Armand's chateau is, it's Col d'Ilamon or Col of the Isle of Man. Yeah, which is the most ridiculous name ever. So we don't really know where we are until we hear our last name pronounced.
Yeah. And the second Albert shows up, it puts Kevin Keeley is just oh hell yeah,
I dig this.
This is it. I was a little suspicious, but now with the crucifix, and then he referred to not a lot of clever books on the shelves, which I think was funny.
It was all Nancy Drew or something.
Because Agador, when he got this big crucifix, was and they also gave me a bunch of books, and I feel like he said something they're due back next week, or that he was just giving all these old library books. But and Kevin is immediately getting into there's no pleasant conversation. He's launching into all his political talking points
about
right
abortion
away,
and gay marriage and all this stuff, and Clinton's bad and all this stuff. And Albert's trying to play along and sort of agreeing with a lot of the stuff. And so she said something. He said something as the mom. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember that Senator Keeley's response was, "That's exactly what Rush Limbaugh said."
Yeah,
it's funny that Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, there's some name checks in this.
They're very mid-90s.
Right? Is it Billy Graham? He says it's too liberal.
No, it's the Pope is too liberal.
Controversial.
The Pope is too controversial. We'll get Billy Graham, and then later he says Bob Dole. He was going to say Bob Dole's too liberal, but his wife Louise says he's too dark. Well, he's dark too, but I was going to say too liberal. I think that's the year 96 would have been the year that Dole.
That would have been the Clinton. Dole.
Yeah, that would have been the year that Dole ran against Clinton.
Was Bush
that's
as the incumbent. Yeah,
that's right.
So they're getting along great. Nobody's pushing back, but Armand is uncomfortable by this, right? So there's a scene as these questions are coming, and nobody's had a chance to adjust to Albert arriving. They didn't have a little meeting in the what's it called?
The kitchen
in the mud room first,
right,
and then go in there.
Yeah.
So he's just like, what the fuck? And he's going around nervously putting ice in everybody's cups and stuff like that. But they're getting along kind of famously, and they end up having this great like little singing and dancing moment, right?
Yeah, they do. Before dinner is served, they do it's from My Fair Lady, I Could Have Danced All Night, like whatever. And it's like there's piano and they're dancing and singing. Yeah, everybody's getting along great. We should mention in the meantime, a ton more journalists have shown up because somebody got footage from the Keeley's house of the National Enquirer guy, like getting the bribe and finding out they're going to South Beach or whatever. So that's kind of become knowledge. So now there's like TV vans and all these reporters and cameras all over the street out front, Ocean Boulevard. And so now, there's this heightened sort of issue of how are they going to get out of here?
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of the thing.
Yeah. And so as they're about to serve dinner, they lay out the plates and everything. Yeah. And they see that the bowls and the plates, Kevin Keeley's kind of examining. He's like, oh, these are interesting. Like, is that like naked men and it's all this like different artwork where it's like like you said with the fertility idols and stuff, it's all this stuff, and there's like
very Greek.
Are there two men having sex on this, right? And then the family very quickly reacting to that is like, oh, mine has women too. Yeah,
I have girls on mine.
So that's a good thing. And they're missing their glasses. I think Kevin Keeley and his wife are both like, oh, where are my glasses? Yep. And the kids are both kind of like, oh, I don't know. I guess they're gone.
I looked, didn't find them. Yeah.
Trying to keep their vision low. But they have to rush to get the soup in those bowls to cover up the dicks.
Agador has created a soup or whatever. He's got shrimps that he isn't able to put into the thing because Armond runs out with it. And he says, it's like, oh, this is seafood chowder. And he starts putting it, and then like Louise is like, Senator Kelly's wife is like, isn't this an egg? Why is there an egg? He's like, oh yes, it's a huevo. It's very big in Guatemala. Like, he's trying to play it up, and it's just all bullshit. And he says like a woman is said to be like worth her weight in hens, and a man is judged by the size of his cock. And he walks off. But then it's like they try this stew or whatever it is, this soup, and everybody hates it. It's terrible. They all reach for bread at the same time. And so then Val goes to check on what's going on in the kitchen, and Armand's in there banging his head against the wall, and he says he didn't make an entree. And Agador's like, it's sweet and sour peasant soup. It is an entree. Why do you think I made so much? It's like a stew.
Val kind of needs to sneak out of there, and what they want him to do, because they know that his mom is still on the way. She's unreachable. She's in the car. So in her mind, I'm just running late, but I'm trying to get here. Yeah. And they say, hey, Val, go down, like put a note for your mom. Says like, don't come in under any circumstances.
We'll explain later.
Right? We'll deal with it later. And he goes down and does that. But then the reporters who have been kind of stalking them, like pull it off. And like, oh, this might be useful information. And just to fuck everything up.
Super
right?
shitty. So they take it away.
And one of the reporters, the guy who's kind of like the sidekick of the main reporter, was in True Lies.
Yes,
he was one of our favorite crew members with Tom Arnold and Arnie.
That's right. And he in fact, he had a camera. He has a camera in this show or whatever, or this movie. And he had a camera at part of True Lies because he was the like camera crew that got sent to take down the terrorists. And he had the gun in it and everything. Same there. So yeah.
So at some point they all notice as Albert's getting up his wig slips.
Yeah.
And they're able to kind of get on it pretty quickly. I think Barbara goes to Albert and says like, hey, can you show me where the bathroom is?
Mother
like,
Coleman.
Let's get you out of here. And they're all kind of rushing around Albert to fix this situation.
Yeah, which leaves just the Keeleys. Mr. and Mrs. Keeley are the only ones left alone at the dinner table. And Senator Keeley is super like pissed. Like he thinks that this is that Mrs. Coleman is such a tread upon woman, and Armond must have a side piece, kind of like all this like stuff, and basically like acting way more concerned about this woman who he does not know is a man than he has ever about his wife. It certainly seems. But as they are kind of arguing, the Keeleys, Catherine shows up. Walks right in. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Senator and Mrs. Keeley, I'm so glad to meet you. I'm Catherine Goldman, Val's mother, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, and that's about when Albert, wig fix and the others come out, and now it's confrontation time. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. And when she arrives at the door, it's very funny that Agador goes up. He's like, oh, hello, miss. May I take your purse as usual or for the first time?
Like he doesn't even know which side to play. Like, yeah. But Val finally does the right thing because he he basically, Senator Keeley's like, we need an explanation here. Like, who is Val's mother? Like, this woman has said she's Val's mother. You've said this is Val's mother. So who's Val's mother? And he does the right thing. He says this is, and he takes Albert's wig off. And he says, this is my mother. Like, this is the person who raised me, like, kind of thing. And, but, Catherine here, like, she birthed me or whatever kind of thing. And she introduces like, so nice to finally meet you, Val. Like, it's very, which I'm sure is like kind of like, oh my God, extra mind blowing for the Keeleys. But Senator Keeley is completely, he's like, huh? But you're a man. What? I don't understand. But wait, 2 minutes. And he's just like, and the wife is like, look, Kevin, yeah, get it. They're gay. They're a couple. Like, what is so hard to understand about this?
Yeah.
But then she's like, Barbara, we're leaving. And she's like, no, I'm not leaving. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. And that's when they turn to leave, and the National Enquirer guys are right at the door, and one of them's got a camera, and the other one goes, Senator Keeley. But like as he turns, he sees the camera and he shuts the door.
Yeah.
So they don't have a picture of him, but now they know, like everybody's there.
Know
So
he's there.
They even go into like the bedroom to look down onto the main street there, and they can see all the news vans. Like they're screwed. Catherine mentions like it's their word against yours. You were even here.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, unless they get a photo of us. And so they need a plan
right
to get out.
Right. And so is this like, as they discover, there's a couple kind of funny things. As one is as Albert is explaining like, yeah, I'd love Val just like any parent loves him. And, it's the exact same. It's still me with just one tiny difference. Well, not a tiny difference, right? I don't know if that gets the giant hog hashtag since we're hinting at it, but we love hashtag and stuff that. Yeah. And then, what was the other thing there? I'm not going to think of it. So yeah, the press is everywhere, and we're like, how are we going to get out? So they couldn't storm out. So now they have to like reconcile. They have to like deal with these people because you're the only people that can help us here.
Well, and that's the thing is that like, so now the Keeleys are stuck there. Look, I think there's a little bit of realization happening. One, that they had been having a pretty good time at dinner. Like these were people they were enjoying the company of, right?
Right.
They're now in a position where these folks could just throw them out to the wolves and be like, okay, we'll leave now and then deal with what you're going to deal with, right? But they're not. They're trying to help them through it. And it's obvious that Val and Barbara, care very much for each other. I think there's a lot of this going on for the Keeleys. And so the plan becomes, well, if you're in drag on the way out, like, they're not going to recognize you. They're not going to understand that it's you. This doesn't work today with cell phone cameras in everybody's pocket, people filming things all the time.
Right.
Because they would have gotten caught.
Sure.
Because it was the television crews and they're probably hooked up to like live feeds and stuff, they wouldn't just be filming. They'd be waiting to set up to then start filming kind of thing or start taping or broadcasting or whatever. So it's not an always on panopticon kind of thing. But today, somebody's getting a shot of Senator Keeley in drag coming out. And it's not like he looks nothing like himself.
No, and being like a tall, like Gene Hackman's a tall guy
yes,
too.
Is,
not that there weren't like tall drag queens at the thing, but
the show,
I mean, it's a face that's noticeable.
Right.
Like if you're looking for that face, you'd probably spot the face even with a wig and a dress on.
So we basically end the movie very similarly to how we began with "We Are Family," and the song plays, and they basically are all kind of like walking, dancing, joining the crowd through the club, and then out the front door, and they get into Catherine's car. She's going to drive them away, and then Gene Hackman says to their original driver, like, meet me in 20 minutes on the corner of, this and that. He goes, lady, not for $1 million.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, so apparently the costume was good enough that the driver did not recognize him. So,
right.
But yeah, I think after that, it's just we get the wedding during the end credits.
Yeah, we get the wedding, which and there's another point that they bring up, with the Coleman Goldman thing. So when they have this kind of big reveal of Albert is actually Albert, and then our last name is Goldman, not Coleman. So this whole thing where you expect Kevin Keeley to be like, I can't believe you're a man. He's like, I can't believe you're Jewish.
You can't be Jewish.
But then at the end, when they're having the wedding, they're clearly having one of those joint like Catholic Jewish wedding celebrations.
Dual denomination.
Yeah. So that is it. And of course, Albert is crying throughout the whole ceremony.
Yeah.
And that little shit Val got everything he wanted.
He did. He got everything he wanted. He's got his parents. He now knows his birth mother that he didn't know before. She's now in his life, and he's gotten married and all this stuff. And I'm sure Senator Keeley is still campaigning on the Coalition for Moral Order's platform and has to pretend that his daughter isn't married to the son of gay people or something. Like, I don't know how that works for him, but whatever.
If Senator Keeley was supposed to be like 60 at the time, 65 at the time, 30 years later, he's still in the Senate and he's still running for re-election
Very
this
Jesse
year.
Helms-ish.
Yep.
Well, that's the Birdcage. That is the Birdcage.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and give my rating first. Like I said, I love this movie. This is a movie I have a ton of nostalgia for. It's a movie my wife loves as well. So she and I watch it, on a fairly regular basis. I think it's very funny. I think that for the most part, the sort of themes and stuff certainly hold up. There are several uses of the F slur, which is not something that I enjoy in movies, but they're used in every case as a self-description by queer characters in groups. So it's much more of like, watching Menace to Society.
It's not Jeff Spicoli saying
it's like watching Menace to Society, and they're using the N-word with each other all the time because that's the culture they're in, and they're all in the in-group. Same kind of thing here. The F slur is used only by the characters who are kind of like can claim that word for themselves. Other than that, I don't think any of it like aged poorly outside of some like topical references that aren't really topical anymore because it's almost
Robert
30 years later.
But it gives you a chance to Wikipedia some stuff.
There you go. Yeah, they mentioned Mapplethorpe, Billy Graham, they mentioned
Jeb Bush.
Jeb Bush is mentioned several times. The young Kennedys. Like there's a lot of things that kind of, didn't age great in that sense, but what are you going to do? It's a product of its time. I love this story outside of the Val part. I love the story as it pertains to parents doing what they feel like they, kind of need to do or can do for their children and wanting to give them everything. Like that part of it I love. Val is a hard person to root for. So I don't. The movie to me is about Armond and about Albert and in part about Barbara because she seems very sweet. We don't get any sense that she's, I don't even get the sense that she's pushing Val to do this. It really feels like Val is setting up all of the sort of like things, let's be careful, seem to be coming more from him than from her, but maybe that's just, I'd rather think of it that way because I already don't like him. I'm a 4.5 out of 5 on The Birdcage. It's not a perfect movie, but it is so funny. I laughed my ass off through it again. And again, this one that I know I've got, a ton of nostalgia for, but I really do think it's a really spectacular comedy. It's very heartfelt in a lot of ways. And it just produced several really laugh out loud scenes. And Hank Azaria is a wonderful treat. So I'm 4.5 out of 5.
All right. Well, so this is my first time seeing this movie. And like I try to do with a movie I haven't seen before, I'll watch it twice. I'll watch it once all the way through to just kind of get the feeling of it and then watch it again to get notes and everything like this. I do want to say I relate to one part of this is my wife and I used to work with someone who was like a daughter of a Kevin Keeley type politician. He's not in the Senate, but he's in Congress now. And he's like a real piece of shit, like ultra conservative, just whatever. She really could have used a dinner party at a drag queen couple's house. Like she really needed to be exposed to that kind of shit because she sucked at it. She was terrible. So I'm in favor of like exposing people to this and realizing, like we're all the same and stuff. I definitely like that, that kind of feeling in a movie. So the first time I watched it, I didn't like it at all. Okay. I was really struggling and like I wanted to like I like what it's about and I like the people in it, but I was just like Nathan Lane is too annoying to me. I can't root for him. Val sucks too bad. I can't root for him. Robin Williams is not being funny. I can't root,
Interesting.
So I had a really, really hard time with it. And I watched it the second time and I came around a bit on some of it. Like I saw some more sweetness between Albert and Val and Albert and Armand. And I like that relationship a little bit more. The Kevin Keeley character, I think it's funny. Like his best work is telling his like meandering story. I think was like the best thing that he did there. I think this movie didn't have as much comedy as I would have liked to have for something with Robin Williams in it. And I feel like it suffers a bit from the Mrs. Doubtfire curse.
Interesting.
Because some of the gags that they could have put in this movie that would have been funny, I think would have overlapped too much with stuff that happened in Doubtfire. Like if you were trying to have a scene, like does Albert need to keep changing in and out of, the outfit, stuff like that. I mean, the montages of dressing up. It's just that this came out 2 years earlier or 3 years earlier. And like, there's a lot of things they'd be like, this would be good in our movie, but they just did that. So all this is to say, I did have a tough time with this and I came around on it a bit. It's not really like my type of film. It didn't have enough like punch as far as comedy for me. So I'm going to give The Birdcage a 2 out of 5, but I want to be clear that this is just kind of specific to the type of movies that I generally like to see. There's a reason this movie made a lot of money. There's a reason this movie is very beloved. It just didn't work for me very much. I'm just like trying to be honest about my experience of watching it. So
Well,
that's where we're at for the Birdcage.
Thank you, everybody. This is the final episode of Two Dads, One Movie. We're never going to... I'm kidding. No caveats necessary, man. We all have our own tastes, and this only ties the biggest gap between our scores, by the way. The 2.5 is... We've done this a few times. So
that's right.
6.5 out of 10 is the final score from the Two Dads on the Birdcage, and I will accept that, even though it's just one of my favorite movies. It's not for everybody, obviously, and it's I know that my nostalgia for it is a major factor in that, and that's fine. So, what are you bringing to the table next week, Nick? What are we going to watch next week?
Well, I know we've kind of been in the spirit of talking about groups of people in our country that have been historically mistreated and discriminated against.
Yep.
And my next movie touches on, I think, the group that is the most discriminated against in the history of our country, the troops.
Okay. The troops.
And we're going to follow.
I thought you were going to say cops.
That's true, too. We are going to follow a Vietnam veteran as he is kind of, wandering the country, just making a life for himself, trying to visit his old friends. And he runs up against some very unpleasant police officers. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to, I don't know if it's Washington or Oregon, somewhere, Washington State. And spend some time with John Rambo as we check out First Blood.
Nice. I have never seen First Blood. I'm well aware of I'm super familiar with basically the plot line, which there isn't a ton of. It's not a convoluted storyline. It's a pretty basic setup.
Yeah.
I know that it's not, that the later Rambo movies leaned so much harder into just the spectacle of the action.
Yes.
First Blood was meant to be a little more,
they're supposed to be
subdued or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that. But I've never actually seen it. I just know I know Brian Denny, he's a piece of shit, and I know that John Rambo fucks shit up. So that's what I'm going in with.
Match made in heaven, baby.
Exactly. All right. So next week we will watch First Blood. That's a wrap. If you like what you hear, please consider heading over to Apple or Spotify and leaving us a 5-star review. It helps new folks find the show. Be sure to check out our website at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. There you can explore the movies we've covered, sign up for our newsletter, The Rewind, and even get sneak previews of upcoming episodes. Once again, this has been The Birdcage, another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.